And we are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. This is Pan-African Television News. My name is Ivy Abnadidi Nakite. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe, as I intimated earlier. 48 Swanika Street, Berlin, Accra, Ghana. Now, coming up in the next 1 hour, prioritize vocational education following the acknowledgement of its invaluable contribution to national development. Now, also coming up, government cautioned over e-levy to cut down on expenditure to boost revenue mobilization. We're bringing you details of this and many more, including stories in the world of business, international sports and entertainment. Do stay with us. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. This is Pan-African Television News. Here with me, Ivy Abnadidi Nakite. We are live on Facebook at Pan-African Television, live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. The news in detail. First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Wusu, has underscored the importance of vocational education in Ghana's quest to champion the taste for locally made commodities. Now, according to the Member of Parliament for Bekwai, an investment in vocational education will help build a sustainable amount of manpower that will help the country improve its private sector instead of resorting to the importation of foreign-made goods, which could have otherwise been produced locally.
But I think that at this time we started thinking big. Gradually, the crave for imported apparel, for example, is going down very sharply. So, if we focus on making now practically every Ghanaian who wants to be formal wears the kaftan. I call them tropical suits. You wear the tropical suits in any form. And you go on the internet, some people are sitting in China and making them in bits and pieces and parts. There's what do you call it? Wax sprayed shirts. They are making them in China and selling it to us online. That's something which was our handiwork, you know. But because our systems are rather small sized, if you ask for 100 sets of shirts, it will take you probably a year to put them together. That is what Convent was supposed to change. So you have industrial setup. This one is making the hand, this one is making the neck, this one is making the sleeves, and then another puts them together quickly. I think that's where we should focus. That's why my focus was on technical training and also helping people to broadening our horizon, looking beyond the small container we used to. We want more intelligent people to go into these areas. We all take pride in saying, oh, I'm wearing big brand names. The big brand names are big, intelligent people who set up businesses. We should go heavily down on the letters. I'm a lawyer, I'm a journalist. All you can do is talk and write. If you give you a drill, you won't know where to drill it. So I think that if you look at the developed world, what I've seen, the emphasis is on people who can build, people who can dismantle a whole. I met a young Ghanaian. He was trained in Germany, but he's working as a contractor for the local councils in London now. They came to my hotel. They said, lawyer, let's hope there's a 12-floor hotel. There's this whole thing, if you give it to me, I can bring it down alone and rebuild it. That's the training was given in Germany. Everything to do with construction building. Now he's come to live in England and he's a contractor. have such, they're overwhelmed by demand, you know. But my younger brother works with them. He says he's embarrassed because among the group, he's the only one who can work with his hands. He did a first degree, marketing masters, all in writing. So he finds himself instead. He said, "Bro, I want to go and learn a trade." So, well, I want to learn plumbing. Because anytime they have a contract, they have difficulty getting plumbers. The demand is so high. Meanwhile, all he can do is bookkeeping. So he wants to learn plumbing so he can also be useful. It may take some time for people to realize that the true value in the things we can do with our hands. But I want to be a major advocate that people should focus on the things we can do with our hands, and we should focus on training in that respect. All the things that we did here, none of these is break. Right? Yes. It was made with plaster molds and things. We should refocus the training, kind of training that we do, and the kind of emphasis, the kind of things we put emphasis on, and encourage it. And also that, for example, on the FSOP where we drill oil, we import welders in hundreds every year because the Ghanaian welders are not trained to the quality, the level who can work on the vessel. So every year the drillers come and 800 welders and need permission to bring them in. And the Petroleum Commission has no choice because it doesn't have them locally. Well, there are so many young Ghanaians here who are capable of being trained to do that. And that's for me where we're failing. I'm glad to say that the Petroleum Commission has taken up as a responsibility in actually setting up welding department in all the colleges of education. We've already sent teachers to Canada to train. And very soon, I think sometime this month, we'll set up the Institute of Welding to try and promote the thing. But when we do that, a lot of the things we do will improve. Not only working on the seas. For me, if I train that, I can't work there because water frightens me. But with that same training, I probably can put up a lot of fabrication and things which will help the country. So yes, I emphasize heavily on vocational technical training because I think the country needs that a lot.
Now, Member of Parliament for Laura constituency Bedzident says the electronic transfer levy bill before the legislature will burden Ghanaians. He also urged government to manage its expenditure prudently in order to generate revenue income to fund projects.
For me, I've lived in this country long enough, and we have had so many governments. No government has resorted to this type of taxation in order for us to have our infrastructure built. We must find some other means. Okay, roads have been built from independence up to this time. Harbors have been built from independence up to this time. We have had estates. We have had all our developments have been carried out for all these years without anybody imposing this type of tax. When there was no electronic transaction, were governments not collecting revenue? Were they not collecting taxes? And were they not using the taxes for the development of the country? Is this government not collecting those particular taxes? The taxes that other governments used to collect and used in the development of this country, is this government not collecting those taxes? Why? It is collecting all those taxes. That is the reason why its revenue envelope has risen. First and foremost, there is so much money being spent in areas where the money should not be spent. Look, for instance, the last 4 years, the government allocated so much money to the presidency for things to be done that one village, one dam. Did you see any one village, one dam? The dams which were constructed, were they dams? Was it not wasteful? It was completely wasteful. That is how you run into problems with your expenditure. It was completely wasteful. We have voted so much money for them. We have voted from the current budget, the 22 budget, at least we have voted 90 billion for them. We have voted 90 billion for them. So they should go back and they reorganize that particular money and see how they can apply it. But if they come back telling us that, oh, all that money will go into compensation, it will go into the payment of interest and then amortization, hey, now who calls them? Now who calls them? If you go and borrow money and you spend it recklessly and you are unable to generate enough revenue to pay the interest, you should blame yourself.
Also on the issue of government assistance, of declining the option of seeking financial assistance from the International Monetary Fund, he added that the government wields the prerogative whether or not to seek assistance from the Bretton Woods institutions, but the continuous mismanagement of the economy will mean that such a decision will have to be made sooner or later.
Whether they want to go to IMF, whether they don't want to go to IMF, it is their cup of tea. It is a decision for government to take. When we were in government and when we faced some challenges, we decided that we're going to have a homegrown budget. We're going to have something that we have ourselves decided how we are going to do it. But we will send it to the IMF for, they call it credibility acceptance. And so that's what we did. They have been caught by this matter. They can also decide that they also conduct some forum, and at that forum, people will put their ideas together, and then when they pick those ideas and they put it together as a document, they can also send it to the IMF. If they don't want the IMF as IMF just to give them conditionalities, they can also send it to the IMF for some endorsement. They criticize us when we went to the IMF. Today, they can't manage the economy, and they are afraid to go to IMF. It is a decision for them to take. We are not going to ask them to go to IMF or not to go to IMF. So that they will say that, oh, it is the NDC that is asking them to go to IMF. So as soon as they go to IMF and then there are difficulties, they will come and say, but it was NDC that pushed us to go to IMF. We are not pushing anybody to go to IMF. They should take the decision as to whether they are going to the IMF with their own program or not. Because we did our program and we sent it to IMF, and IMF endorsed it and asked us to come and they implement it. And we came and we were implementing it. They should also take that decision.
Away from that, a high-powered delegation from the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council has paid a courtesy call on the former President John Dramani Mahama and deliberated with him on a wide range of issues concerning the country's forward march. Now, speaking to the media after the closed-door meeting, National Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, disclosed that his leader and the party are open for any dialogue pertaining to Ghana's interest.
This morning was at the instance of the umbrella organization of the various Christian community that we have. The Christian Council, the Catholic Secretariat, the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, and several others. The meeting discussed wide-ranging issues that borders on governance, that borders on the economy of the country, and the way to forge ahead as we all find solutions to the hydra-headed challenges that are facing the country. I want to say that it has been a very successful meeting. The discussions were very frank and open, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and his side have given very clear indications that we put the nations ahead of our personal and parochial partisan interests, and for that matter, are prepared that if there is any dialogue that encapsulates a whole plan towards addressing the economic challenges that we are facing, he is prepared to offer his bit in the interest of Mother Ghana. And I believe that our representative from Parliament also briefed the delegation, and they also offered some suggestions. And so we are looking up to the future, and we believe that as a very concerned party, and a party that is very patriotic, we will still be looking at the national interest, and will be contributing towards that. Indeed, the meeting was a closed-door meeting, and for that matter, matters that were discussed in-house, the decision is to keep them as such as the consultation continues. So I want to thank you very much for your presence here, and to say that we cannot let out the details that transpired during the course of the meeting.
He further indicated that the party's position on the contentious and much talk about e-levy still stands.
Besides that, this meeting is not about e-levy, and we need to emphasize the point that the President indicated clearly that the situation the country is facing, e-levy is just a symptom of a bigger challenge that we are facing on the economic front. And for that matter, if there is any attempt by government to come out with a comprehensive plan to address the hydra-headed challenges that we are facing in the economy, we in the NDC side are prepared to, put in our bit to ensure that we address the challenges that is facing the country now. And that is a very significant point that we need to put out there. From all the indications, as far as we are concerned, the position of the NDC and our minority on e-levy still remains unchanged, and nothing has happened to it. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Kesel Atuba Forsen, has hinted that, aside the controversial passage of the e-levy, Ghana's cocoa sector is currently grappling with crisis, which, if left unattended, could severely affect the cultivation and utilization of the cash crop.
It's clear to know that our country is not in a pleasant situation. I mean, you don't need a soothsayer to tell you where we are. And so for me, the invitation for us to be part of such an important meeting was very refreshing. And the dialogue, the kind of conversation we've had here today is so encouraging. I mean, we have only one country, and all of us as political actors have a role to play to keep the country together and to preserve our future. So I'm gladdened that I've been part of a day that the NDC, working with the former president, held a dialogue with the Christian community and to look at the forward march of our country. I believe that it will not end here, and I believe that going forward, they will indeed intervene as and when there's an issue, and encourage the two political parties to work together. So I think that is where we'll end it. But also to add that there are some few developing issues, not only the e-levy issues in Parliament, but the issues within the cocoa sector that in the current days we have been worried about. We are hearing that Cocoa Board is not even able to buy up to 42% of what was purchased last year around the same time. So far, figures from the Ghana Cocoa Board themselves suggest that they've bought so far 408,000 metric tons of cocoa, as against almost 600,000 metric tons, same period last year. We are worried because we believe that around this time, because Parliament approved for Ghana Cocoa Board to borrow an amount for the purposes of buying cocoa, we are hearing from the cocoa buying areas that people are ready to sell their cocoa, but the cocoa buyers, in fact, the purchasing companies do not have the money to buy the cocoa for the purposes of supplying to the state and for the state to be able to satisfy the conditions of their contract. So we can only be worried, and many more. And we're also seeing an upsurge of cocoa bills, being cocoa loans, that this government, within a short period of time, they've been able to contract. We've seen numbers that suggest that Cocoa Board owns in excess of 12 billion Ghana cedis from the 1 billion that they inherited. And this is becoming a matter of major concern to us. Look, the fact is, the economy of Ghana is sick, and we need to come together to help solve it. It is not a party's problem, one political party's problem. It's a problem that all of us has to come together and solve. We know this is actually being occasioned by one party's singular mismanagement, but doesn't mean they are the ones that should solve it alone. We believe as a political party, we are a major stakeholder in the management of this country, and so we are ready. We are well positioned, and we believe that if this government calls upon us, we would lend our intellect and our support to the building of this country. I think that's all what we can say for now. Thank you.
George Wilson Vinen for Pan African Television.
Now, still on our local front, the Director General of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Emmanuel Kwesi Ofori, has refuted claims that his outfit is targeting journalists for arrest in a wave of actions to intimidate them. Now, according to him, the police actions are purely based on its compliance with the law.
Hello? Okay, wait a minute. Why? My wife comes and send a message to you. Your face is going to move. Hello? I don't know. What's happened?
It's a chunk who's will be a quiet say what? I dare say,
We signed for a friend. I'm so young. You are not testing messages here. And our office also. I'm trying to tell you, man. She says, I
mean, so we a guy manu, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Ghana.
what's it name? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240 333 111 and NASA 0244 144 822.
Miampa and you want swimming pool on me see? Me want to will be here. Family dwelling now I say. Family dwelling.
What fashion you say?
Me out
African Center for Capacity Building, AFCAP, organizes the following executive and advanced certificate programs like Executive Certificate in Project Management, Executive Certificate in Human Resource Management, Executive Certificate in Real Estate and Property Management, Executive Certificate in Data and Records Keeping, Executive Certificate in Monitoring and Evaluation, Executive Certificate in Logistics and Transport Management, Executive Certificate in CCTV Monitoring and Installation. AFCAP, where capacity building is our priority. For registration and enquiries, please call 0244 405047, 0242135523. We have our branches in Accra, Tamale, Kumasi, and Wa. Saturdays and weekdays sessions are available. Admission is still in progress. Enroll now. Join the African professionals. AFCAP, where capacity building is our priority.
Hello? Okay, wait a minute. Why? My wife comes and send a message to you. Your office is going to move. Hello? I don't know. What's happened?
It's a chunk who's will be a quiet say what? I dare say,
We signed for a friend. I'm so young. You are not testing messages here. And our office also. I'm trying to tell you, man. She says, I
mean, so we a guy manu, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Ghana.
What's it name? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240 333-111 and that's 0244-144-822.
Miampa and no swimming pool me see. Me want to will be family drilling now. Family drilling.
Don't fast is your last shit.
Me out
Trasaco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasaco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasaco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
Hello? Okay, wait a minute. Why? My wife comes and send a message. Your office is almost free. Hello? What's happened?
It's a chunk who's will be a quiet say what? I dare say,
We signed for a friend. I'm so near you. No, I've not tested messages here. And the office also. I'm trying to tell you, man. She says, I
mean, so we a guy manu and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it name? Family Drilling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be Frey 0240-333-111 and that's 0244-144-822.
Miampa and no swimming pool me see. Me want to will be family drilling now. Family drilling.
Don't fast is your last shit.
Me out
Hello, information.
Madam.
Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, had I?
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I did call. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasaco Fast Floor.
Trawaku, please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big houses in town? I beg those guys.
Madam, in fact, I used to think the same until I visited their office today, and they gave me an estimate of how much it will cost. No, the estimate is real. It's cheaper than the one I even sent you.
Wow.
Building contractors, foremen, masons. Visit IPCP, the Trasaco Fast Floor. Engineers will assist you build an affordable, faster and stronger building.
Oh, madam. It is done.
Wow.
Trasaco Fast Floor. Stronger, faster and affordable.
This is a Trasaco construction product.
Within 3 weeks, 4 journalists and activists have been arrested by the police, often for allegations they made on radio or on social media, which have been investigated by them and deemed to be false. The arrested persons include Accra FM's Bobi Ansah, Power FM's Ohene Boama Beni, and the executive director of the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, Mensa Thompson, were all slapped with a charge of publication of false news and offensive conduct. The issue has reignited conversations on whether Ghana has returned to the dark days of criminal libel, where many journalists were incarcerated over publications they made. In a reaction to the recent development, Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Samuel Kwesi Ofori, disclosed in an interview that the police have remained fair, firm, and professional in its handling of cases of arrest not limited to journalists. According to him, the police operates fairly and is not targeting journalists for arrest as been claimed.
Journalists have a responsibility. Stories that they carry must carry the truth. And oftentimes, what do we see? People go out there with our basic facts and prosecute people on radio, television, and other networks. And when complaint is lodged and there is no iota of truth in it, then the police, insofar as the law remains in our books, the police may act on it. And it is up to the court to determine whether we are right or not. So we have a duty and a responsibility, to perform. And that is what we are doing for now. And let me say that the police is now all out, to enforce all laws of the country, not only in relation to the media. You might have noticed our actions in our anti-robbery operations, fighting all manner of crime to make sure that our society, for instance, in the Vomao case, for instance, where he published something on his Facebook page, the police has a responsibility to investigate such matters, even without a complaint, and when it borders on state security, likely to create insecurity, likely to damage the constitutional order and establishment of this country, the police has every right, to investigate. But oftentimes, the cases that we investigate, we have complainants, witnesses in it, where we adduce evidence and move ahead when we want to go to court.
I see.
Well, that's all on our local front. Coming up next is business. Do stay. Welcome to the business segment of the news. Traders at Medina Market have expressed worry about the slow pace of business activities at the market. According to the traders, the increase in wholesale prices at the beginning of the year has affected sales.
The Medina Market is one of the busiest commercial hubs in the capital. Its location, which is close to the Adentan Highway, makes it a conducive location for traders from several communities, including Adentan. However, traders at the market are not happy. They complain that prices of goods have shot up due to increment in wholesale prices, forcing them to add on the prices increment to customers. According to the traders, prices shot up marginally from the beginning of the year. Some traders at the market said they have no option than to increase their prices to make ends meet.
Meka no wo seshi na medeba na mom ne bo no na de man na cars kano so kwasoro pa man last year de na ye na afide de nkakra man fe ne na ekuyan kase na ntia de ba nti omo say ade ne bo na de mom nti ka fe ne de ekuyan pa
na first na ke ton 2025 say about 30 35 40 nti nkofo so mfi baby beto no so ba mo se ne boy den so ti ase sika ni ho iti asan bi school yeso so ekran nkola mo school ama challenges aye bibiri amaye so won ade to na enko kora o enti bi afese yete wosa hwe gudu fe ma hyehyɛ fe bebre na wo ma chi fita no pa ye nto bi aba na obo price ne pe away.
For tomatoes traders, they have no option than to reduce their prices to meet customers' demand to avoid damage to their items.
Eko kofa obukina. Nti yeko ho last yeko ye, but yesi omunti sumaye. Na so omunpese omunti su. Nti ebona ye di ani akuafo no. Ya tina hu omunpese omunti su. Nti baby ayekofa no bukina no ni bo ye din wo ho. Nti ani ne hu expenses no edoso ne lorry fare kura no na ekunye mi ye di baha ye ntumi ntowo time price na say ye gi no ye ntumi ngi say wo di baha ebe say nti ye tisu wa ha nti ye na ye boka e wo Ghana. Oh, last year na nya kura ebi ya 20 million 80 million ye tokura po a unya wosika say de nyame adom obo ne ba fom. Oh, ngofo didwa edwado mu di nenso mu pade a ne bo no e wo fom don hwe na omo kokwa no so bu no e bo no mra fom no se na be ye omo so ba na ye ka bo no beto amaye o se omo na 10 million 9 million se sanka ba 5 million